everyone, my name is Keeley. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today I am doing a long-awaited book haul, and I'm honestly not looking forward to filming this because I have 47 books to show you, and I always tell myself I am not going to wait that long in between filming book hauls. But my last book haul was in January, and now I have 47 books, and I just do this to myself, really, don't I? So I'm going to do this in like groups of 10, that way I don't have to pull all 47 books off of my shelves and it's like a whole mess. And I'm also going to try to go through this fast. So maybe we'll do like one sentence synopsis, we'll see how that goes, but let's go ahead and get started. First I have The Donut Trap by Julie 2. I read this for my Romance with the Side of Food episode 1 vlog. I will leave that linked down below. We follow a girl named Jasmine who lives with her parents and she works in their donut shop, and they think that she is going nowhere and she's a disappointment until one day in walks Alex, her college crush, and he is everything her parents want for her. But when they go out to dinner, Jasmine starts to realize Alex might not be as perfect as she thought he was. This one was cute, but not super memorable for me, but you know what? I read it, so that's a check for my book haul. Next, for that same romance vlog, I have Donut Fall in Love by Jackie Lau, and this one also follows a donut shop, and we follow baker Lindsay. She owns this donut shop, and one day in walks famous actor Ryan. Now when Ryan walks in, he knocks over a huge tray of donuts, and of course Lindsay yells at him, and she doesn't realize who he is, but when Ryan tells her that he needs help because he's going to be on a celebrity baking show, she offers to teach him how to bake. I love this one so much. One of my favorite baking romances. The baking scenes and the spicy scenes were really great. I also loved the talk of what it's like to be an Asian actor in Hollywood. The next one I've also read, so we're doing great so far, and that is Holly Horror by Michelle Yabis Kapora, and this is a young adult horror, and we follow this girl who is living in New York with her mom and her brother, and they are going through a nasty divorce, so they need to find someplace to live because they are running out of money. So her mom calls up her aunt and is like, hey, we need someplace to live. Can we go live in Hobby House? So they go to this small town called Ravenglass, Massachusetts, and they move into Hobby House, which is actually haunted because decades ago, one of their relatives went missing and was never found. Next, I have one I haven't read yet, and it is massive, and that is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. This is the final book in the Last Hours trilogy. I haven't started it yet, but I collect everything Cassandra Clare, and it'll be some time before I get to it, but it's nice to always have it. Next, I pre-ordered from Barnes & Noble because they started doing these sprayed edges, and that is The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. It has these beautiful sprayed edges, and this one follows, I think, an old man who runs a home for children. I think some of them have magical abilities. Yes, they are magical youth, and he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat. And I've heard that it's great, and there's a lot of found family aspects, so we'll see. Next, I have another copy of Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, but this is the Waterstones edition, and I have this entire series in this edition, so of course I had to get the final one. Next, I have Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I started reading this one back in February from the library, but I put it down because I immediately knew I wanted to own my own copy so I can annotate it because I already related to the main character so much. This is a YA contemporary romance, and I think we follow this girl who lost her mother, so she is obsessed with rom-coms because that's how her and her mother connected, and there's also fake dating involved, and I just know I'm gonna love this one so much, and I know it's gonna hit me so hard, and I feel like I can already relate to it. The next one I got is a Fairy Loot edition, but I ordered this one on Pango Books, and that is Poster Girl by Veronica Roth, this beautiful edition, and I got this one because this is the same author of Divergent, and I recently reread that series, and it still holds up. I love it so much, and this is another dystopian book by her, so I know she's gonna do great. Next, I have The Sweetest Betrayal by Natalie May. This is the third and final book in the Kinder Poison trilogy. I have read and annotated it, and I am also in the acknowledgements of this book, which is so special because it is one of my favorite series. So this trilogy follows a girl named Zaru who is a whisperer, which means she can talk to animals. However, being a whisperer is the lowest of the hierarchy, which means they live in poverty, but one night there's going to be this awesome party at the palace because they are trying to find the next heir to the throne. Now the king has 3 children and they are going across the desert on this competition, and the person who kills the human sacrifice gets to have the throne. Now of course Zari wants to go to this party, she sneaks in and she ends up as the human sacrifice to this competition. I love this series so much. Next, I have Enter the Body by Joy McCulloch. I have also read this one, and this is actually Shakespeare's stories retold from the point of view of the women. Often in his plays and stories, the women end up dying, so in this book, they take the power back and they tell the stories as their own. So we follow Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, and King Lear, and we follow the women that are within that story, and this was so beautiful. It's also told in verse, which was just an awesome way to tell the story. Hello. Clearly it is a different day from when I first started filming this book haul. I started it yesterday, but I stopped, but now I am back to finish it, so sorry if it looks a little disconnected. But let's go ahead and get into the rest of these books. The next one I want to show you is She is a Haunting, and this one I have also already read, and I did vlog it, so I will leave that linked down below if I remember. However, I didn't particularly like this one. I can't even remember the girl's name. Jade. We follow Jade, and she needs money for college, but her and her dad do not have a good relationship. Her parents are divorced, and her dad actually lives back in Vietnam. So her dad tells her, I will help you pay for college if you come and stay with me in Vietnam, where he is fixing up an old French Victorian manor that is apparently haunted. However, her dad doesn't believe it, so when Jade gets there and she starts realizing this place is haunted, she starts to play little pranks to help him realize that this place is haunted and they need to get out. Like I said, didn't really enjoy this one, didn't really care for it, but I'm obsessed with the cover, so I'm keeping it. Next, I have The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This is an ARC that was sent to me so kindly by Sell It On Books. I cannot believe this came in the mail for me. I was shocked when I opened it. This is Taylor Adams' newest thriller novel, and it is crazy. We follow this girl who is house sitting in a very secluded area. The only person she has to talk to is a neighbor across the way. They communicate via a whiteboard. So one day, she is reading this book and she hates it. So she leaves a nasty review, and the author actually reaches out to her and he is not happy. And as she's alone in this house, some weird, creepy things start happening and she thinks the author is out to get her. This is crazy and brutal and fast-paced, but the beginning of the story was very slow to me, and I did not enjoy this one as much as No Exit, but I did read it, so check it off my list. Next, I have a book that I am actually going to unhaul right after I haul this, and that is Half-Blood by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is book 1 in the Covenant series, and this is about like demigods, but I started reading this, I think I got like 100 pages in, and I was not interested. I hated all of the characters, and the world was confusing, and really it just came down to the characters, so I will be unhauling this one. Next, I have a book that was sent to me by Sourcebooks Fire, and that is Tell Me What Really Happened by Chelsea Sidoti. So this is a young adult thriller, maybe mystery. I believe someone goes missing, and this is told in police interviews and different transcripts, and I love when books are told like that. So it is a little chunkier, but I feel like it's going to be so fast-paced, and I love a good missing persons mystery. Next, I have one of my favorite books of the year so far, and that is Where Darkness Blooms by Andrea Hanna. I read this as an art copy, so I had to purchase the finished copy. So this book is set in a town called Bishop, Kansas, and it is in the middle of nowhere surrounded by sunflower fields. We actually follow 4 teenage girls who all live in a house together because a few years ago, all of their moms went missing and nobody is really looking for them. Nobody knows what happened, so they are trying to find where their moms went. But the thing is with this town, missing and murdered women is not unusual, and it happens quite often. So this town is full of secrets, and the sunflowers may or may not start whispering secrets to the girls themselves. This is bloody and full of rage, and I just love it so much. The atmosphere and this story is just incredible. Next, from Waterstones, I ordered It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is the special edition, and it is so pretty. We have some stenciled edges here, and then the back, and I believe the naked cover, yes, it also has a quote on it, if you can see that. I was making an order from Waterstones, and I saw somebody haul this edition, and I love this book, but I didn't own a copy, so I was like, why not get a beautiful one? The next 4 books are all Stephen King books, so I'm going to go through them pretty quickly because if I haven't read his books, then I don't really look into what they're about. The first one is Just After Sunset, and these ones are from Waterstones. I ordered these ones because the spine make like beautiful rainbow colors. And the next one is 4 Past Midnight. This is one of his chunky ones, so we'll see about that. And then I have Full Dark No Stars, once again a Waterstones edition. And the last one I have I actually got on eBay, I believe, and it is not a Waterstones edition. It is very old and kind of suspicious looking because it kind of smells, but that is Roadwork, and I actually recently read this one, and this is actually my least favorite Stephen King book so far. This is about a man who lives in a house and he has recently lost his son, and there is construction that is taking over his life because it is going to be built over where his house and his company is, and so he is having to move, but he doesn't want to, so he is slowly losing everything, including his mind. It is quite boring, but more Stephen King. Next, I have a book that I read for my vampire reading vlog, and that is Mina and the Undead by Amy McCaw. So we follow this girl named Mina who is moving to New Orleans to go live with her sister and her sister's friends. Now her sister and the friends all work at this murder mystery museum, and so Mina is going to try to get a job there, and on her first day there she actually discovers a body that looks like it was killed by a vampire. So her and a boy team up together because there are murders happening all over the city that are actually recreations of old New Orleans myths and legends. This book was so much fun to read. Mina is one of my favorite characters. I felt so seen within this story. I loved the vampire-ness, but also all the other crimes that were talked about because New Orleans is filled with so much murder and mystery, and I loved that as a setting, which was unusual for me because I don't usually like New Orleans, but this book made me really like it. Next, I have the Elusive Fourth Wing edition with the sprayed edges. I don't know how I got this because I ordered it and Amazon was like, oh, it's gonna take 3 weeks to get to you. So I was like, oh, this is not gonna be a first edition because it's taking so long to get to me. And when it arrived, it had the edges, so I was like, okay, don't know how, but this is a fantasy romance series that obviously everyone is completely obsessed with right now, and although I'm not a fantasy girly, this sounds like something that I'm going to be completely trash for because I've seen a lot of comparisons to like the old classic YA series that I am absolutely obsessed with, so I hope this is a new obsession. The next 2 books I read for my Romance with a Side of Food vlog, and the first one is A Sweet Mess by J.C. Lee. So this is set in a small town, and we follow a woman named Audrey who is a baker and she owns a bakery. She has a one-night stand with this guy, and she thinks that she's never going to see or hear from him again, but little does she know he was actually a famous food critic. He actually ended up trying her food at her bakery, and he had a really terrible experience that was an accident, and he wrote a really bad review about it. But he didn't know that that was his Audrey that he spent the night with, and so he was trying to make it up to her, so he invites her to come on his TV like baking show. I hated this one. I gave it 1 star, so go watch my vlog to figure out why. Next, I have Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Cher Lee. We follow a high schooler named Dylan who lives and works with his aunt at her takeout restaurant. One day he has a terrible experience with the customer, and there is another rich boy there that was actually really nice to him, and his name is Theo, and he shows back up, and Dylan and Theo strike up this fake dating relationship because Theo is super rich, so he actually helps out Dylan's aunt's restaurant, and Dylan is like, you cannot just give me $5,000. So Theo is like, well, okay, I'll give you this money, but in return, you can be my fake date to my cousin's wedding. There's also like a mooncake festival competition in here, but honestly, that's not a huge part of the story, and that was kind of a letdown for me, but I thought it was cute overall. Next, I have my first book that I got from my Afterlight Illumicrate subscription, and that is The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. This is the edition we have with the sprayed edges and the little back quote, and then the inside is also all pretty like. But I have read one Christina Lauren before and I absolutely loved it, and so I'm excited to be a part of Afterlight because I am getting more and more into romance and I just want pretty editions, and I've always wanted to be subscribed to Illumicrate, but since I'm not a fantasy girly, this is perfect. The next 5 books were all given to me because my older brother actually recently moved out, and so these books he found in his room and he gave them to me because he didn't want to take them with him. And the first books I have is the Lord of the Rings series. So we have the Fellowship of the Ring, we have the Two Towers, and then we have the Return of the King. So, like I've already stated, I'm not a fantasy girly, but I desperately want to read the series because The Lord of the Rings was actually the first fandom I was ever a part of when I was 5 years old. The movies always came out around my birthday every year, and so that was something I always did for my birthday, and Legolas was the first love of my life, closely followed by Orlando Bloom because I thought they were two separate people when I was growing up. But I really do want to read these, although I've heard that they're really difficult to get into, so I might have to take my time with these. The next one he gave me was the classic Holes by Lewis Satcher. I have loved this one before, and I do own an edition, but not this original edition, so I needed this copy as well. And the last book my brother gave me was Attack on Titan Volume 1. This is a manga series that is highly popular, and I have read manga before and enjoyed what I've read, so this is a series that I'm really interested in, although I cannot tell you anything about it because I don't know. Next, I have Ali Hazelwood's newest book, Love Theoretically. I have absolutely loved and devoured everything that she has written, so I'm so excited to get to her newest book. I believe this one involves fake dating, so always love that trope, and she's already done it so well. But this one's interesting because once again we follow a STEM girly who on the side, to make more money, she is like a fake date. So she like lets out herself to be like, if you need a wedding date or a party date or something like that. And so this is gonna be really fun and really interesting. Next, I have The Hunting Wives by May Cobb, and I actually got to meet May Cobb because she did an event with Riley Sager, and I went to go meet them. So I bought this book there, and I got it signed. If I can show you, of course it's not gonna happen. There you go. It is signed. The bookmark just fell out, but I cannot wait to get to this one because I got to meet her, and that just makes me so much more excited. Next, also for that Riley Sager event, I have 2 of his books of The Only One Left. This one was my pre-order from Amazon, and then this one I ordered at the event, and so this one is the signed one, and once again, something fell out of it, but I loved this book so much. It is Lizzie Borden-esque. We follow a woman named Kit who is a caregiver, and she has recently been suspended from her job 6 months ago, and now she is about to come back, and the only place that her job is willing to give her is to care for Lenora Hope, who allegedly murdered her entire family decades ago. So the first night Kit is there, Lenora types on her typewriter, "I am ready to tell you everything." I love this one so much, and Kit is my favorite Riley Sager character. The next 6 books I all got from my recent Barnes & Noble trip that I did a video of, and the first one I have to talk about is Vamps by Nicole Arend. Like the title suggests, this is a vampire novel all about people who go to a vampire academy. Our main character, I believe, is a Dhampir, so he's half human, half vampire, and he is trying to navigate this world with powerful vampires as he is half a vampire. So I love a good academy setting and anything with vampires. So this almost sounds like an adult vampire academy, but I haven't heard anything about it, but I will be reading it very soon. Next, I picked up another book I had heard nothing about because I thought that was so much fun because I have heard about most books by now, and so picking up something I've never heard about seems like a lot of fun, and that is Graveyard of Lost Children by Katrina Monroe. This was in the horror section, and it follows a woman who was almost murdered when she was 4 months old by her mother because her mother was taken over by all of these visions. So now that she is older, she is pregnant of her own, and she is thinking everything's gonna be fine, but it seems like history may be repeating itself. Next, I have The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, and this follows a woman named Florence Day who is actually a ghost writer. And a little twist, she can see ghosts. So one day when her father passes away, she goes back home to help her family and say goodbye to her dad. They do own a funeral home, which is a fun added touch to this, but when she is there, she opens the door and her editor appears to her as a ghost. This is my favorite book of all time. I'm not kidding. I read this a few weeks ago and it has changed my life. This healed something in me I didn't know needed healing, and it is beautiful and everything to me. Next, I have The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This is a sports romance, and I believe this I would argue her most popular book. I've read one book from Sarah Adams before, and I really enjoyed it. She is a really cute, clean romance author, and I haven't really read sports romance before, but I feel like I'm gonna love it because I love sports. Next, another one of my favorite books of all time that I recently read is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. This is the most intelligent book I have probably ever read, and I am still trying to wrap my head around how she came up with this idea. So we follow this woman who one night she looks out her window and she sees her son murdering another man. The next day when she wakes up, it is actually the previous day to the murder, and each day she wakes up further back in time. So she is trying to figure out how her son got to that point and how she can fix it and keep him from murdering someone. I love this book so much. I cannot even explain it to you, like how my mind is still reeling from this. So good. And the last one from that Barnes & Noble trip was Dracula by Bram Stoker. Once again, the classic vampire book that I still haven't read because I don't like classics, but I do need to read this classic vampire book. I love this edition so much that I had to pick it up. Okay, we are down to the final stack of books, and the first one from that stack is The Umbrella Maker's Son by Katrina Leno. I love Katrina Leno and will purchase anything she writes, and this is her newest book, and I actually got this one signed here, and she sent me an extra little note as well, which was so special. So this is actually a middle grade book, and it is so amazing. I loved it so much. So we follow this little boy named Oscar who lives in a town where it always rains. It is always raining. There are like over 40 different types of rain, and it's so much fun seeing that within this book. And his dad is actually an umbrella maker. But one day, Oscar's dad tells him, you need to drop out of school so you can become my apprentice. But on the other side of town, there is a competitive umbrella making company as well. And when weird things start happening, Oscar starts suspecting this competition. I love this one so much. The setting in this is so much fun, and all the rain and the way it's talked about, it is so whimsical and magical, and I am obsessed with it. Next, I have the collector's edition of City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. This is book 2 in the Mortal Instrument series. I ordered this one from Waterstones. The first book was the 10th anniversary edition, so I really needed to collect this series and this edition because I love this series, and these editions are beautiful. Next, from Pango Books, I got Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab. This is the sequel to This Savage Song. All I know is it is a fantasy series, and I plan on reading all of this author's books. I own the first one, and I went ahead and picked this up because they are changing the covers, and I like these old covers so much more, so I needed to get the second one. Next, I picked up The Sun and the Star by Rick Riordan and Mark Oshiro. This is one of the Percy Jackson books, and it is the newest one, but this is a Nico D'Angelo novel, and Nico is a beloved character of pretty much everyone. Next, I have The Bright and the Pale by Jessica Rubinkowski, and I also got this one on Pango, and this is the Fairy Loot edition, and it is signed, and then the dust jacket also has art underneath that's just stunning. And really, honestly, the only reason I got this one is because the title describes me, bright and pale, and that's all the interest I need to want to read this book. And the last two books I'm going to talk about together because they are part of a series, and that is Good Girl, Bad Blood and As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. I have recently started binging the series, and I am currently halfway through this third and final book. This is a mystery series where we follow a high schooler named Pip, and she just solves mysteries. She has a podcast, and she is currently in trouble, so I desperately need to finish this book. So my camera's about to die, so I'm going to hurry up and finish this intro, but thank you so much for watching. As always, all my social media links will be down below. If you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave the book stack emoji, but that is it. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye!